Oh,
On
right.
air.
So it was a nice, warm, sunny afternoon here at my house. I had the back door open so that our cat and dog could come in and out as often as they wanted to and enjoy the nice spring day. I was actually on the living room couch doing my economics homework, and my cat comes into the house and she starts making this crazy noise, like a meow noise. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, she has the house. So I get up and go into the kitchen, and she has a little lizard in her mouth. It's like one of those salamanders. And as soon as I get close to her, she drops this salamander, and it's still alive. So it slithers into the living room and goes underneath the couch. I let out this big scream, and we're at the house, and they come running out of the bedroom asking what's wrong. And I say, Coco brought in a lizard. And they immediately start screaming and running away. And so I'm all by myself, left with how to get this lizard out of our house. So I go and get the broom and the dustpan and go back into the living room, and I flip. And we have one of those outlets that's in the middle of the floor. And as soon as I flipped over the couch, the lizard went scurrying into that outlet cover. So I finally am able to trap this little lizard in this outlet, and I scoop him up into the dustpan, and I over it, and then I just run to the back door and throw him out. But so this is a common occurrence in our house where the cat, her treasures to us. Most of the time it's just to the back door, but because I had the door open, she decided to bring it up with it. That's all.
All right. So this is the story that I like to refer to as the Honduran Chainsaw Massacre. The summer of 2000, I went to Honduras on a mission trip, and I think our first day there, we stayed at this place called Baxter Institute. It's a place that trains preachers, and we were staying in their dorms. And we were helping clean up around the campus. They had some brush and whatnot, and one of the major utensils that we use, or tools that we use in Honduras, is a chainsaw. We use it for everything from framing out a house to cleaning out brush. And one of the guys for Baxter was straightening up and was cutting down a tree, and he was cutting this limb that was going to fall on his head above him, but I guess he didn't realize that. And he also didn't realize that I was standing behind him holding on to the limb. So as he passed all the way through the limb, he turned around with a running chainsaw and hit my thigh right above the knee, and clipped me with a running chainsaw. And so here I am in Honduras, my first day there of a 2-week trip, and I get a chainsaw wound. And so I wasn't terribly bad, but it was still a chainsaw cut. So I had to go to a clinic nearby that wasn't as well stocked as a U.S. hospital would be. So I got a shot of Rocephin, which if you're in the medical field, you might know what that is. It's a tetanus replacement, and it hurt like crazy. And then I got 8 huge stitches in my leg by a doctor who at the time had a fever and was sick. And so the rest of the week I had to take a shower with a plastic bag around my knee because the water in Honduras is not as clean as it is in the U.S., and so I had to keep disinfectant or keep bacteria out of it. And so the whole week I'm nursing 8 stitches in my leg because of a chainsaw.
All right, I guess I'm up. I've got 2 quick stories, kind of jokes. They're like Aesop fables, and I'll let you search for your own meaning in them. There was this little bird that lived up north, and all his buddies were heading south, and they're trying to get him to come, and he was just being kind of lackadaisical, carefree, didn't want to go. They kept urging him to come, telling him that the winter was on the way. He said, "No, I'm just going to hang up here. I'll be fine." And they said, well, at least build a nest and gather some food. He said, no, no, I'm good. I'm just singing away. I'm having a good time. So they all took off and went south. And before you know it, this little bird is freezing. He's flying along one day, just freezes up and drops on the ground. And he's thinking, that's it. I'm dead. This is the end. Well, right about then, a cow walks along and takes a big old chip all over him, if you know what that is. If you grew up in the South, you know what a cow chip is. So the bird is sitting there and he's thinking, man, not only am I dying, now I'm dying in some cow chips. It can't get any worse. But after a while, he realizes, hey, it's a little kind of warm in here. That feels pretty good. And so he starts struggling around. And he sticks his head up. He's like, oh, this is awesome. I feel great. And he starts singing. Well, right about then, a big old hawk's flying by and hears the singing, swoops down, snatches him up, and eats him. So there is something you need to take from the story. First part of it is everybody who chips on you is not necessarily your enemy. People that get you out of the chips, not necessarily your friends. And if you're warm and happy in the chips, keep your big mouth shut.
The next story that I have is really a frequent question that I get in my work. So when people come into my office, I have my degree hanging on the wall, and my degree is in Spanish. And I'm often asked, well, what brought you to healthcare? And so I tell them the story about how I got into healthcare. Whenever I was in the classroom for my Spanish, I wanted to be a teacher. So I was in the classroom. My first TA experience was just horrible. And I decided senior year that I did not want to be a teacher. I was dating someone that worked at a local hospital in Georgetown, Kentucky, and he had met an executive with Community Health Systems and kind of talked to her about possible opportunities within her. So I eventually married this guy, and whenever he decides that he's ready for a change in a job, he calls this lady up, and she interviews him down in Nashville, and he actually gets an offer for this job. And the only problem is it's a travel position. Got married and had been married for maybe 6 months. And he said, well, I just got married. I can't leave. I can't travel 100% of the time. And she asked a simple question of, oh, well, what does your wife do? Well, I had just graduated from college. So he told her that. And she asked if I would be open for an interview with her. And so I interviewed, and she offered my husband and I the same travel position. So we actually got to work as a married couple our first year of marriage. So that was pretty interesting, and it led me to my current career.
So my last one's a joke. So a grasshopper walks into a bar. A bartender looks up. He's like, "Hey, we've got a drink named after you." Grasshopper looks around. He's like, "You have a drink named Bob?" That was it.
It took me a second, but I got it. All right, I'll close this out with another little Aesop's fable of sorts. Right next to that little bird, a frog was watching what was going on, and he was a baby big-mouth frog. And if you've heard the story of the big-mouth frog before, just hang on, because some people are shaking their heads now. So the baby big-mouth frog is watching this, and he realizes, you know what, it is cold up here, and even though it's summer, I'm going to head south anyway. So he heads south, and he gets somewhere around Kentucky, and he sees a deer with a baby deer by it. And he looks at the mama deer, and he goes, "Hey, mama deer, what the baby deers eat?" And the mama deer says, "Well, baby deers eat grass and oats and acorns and that kind of thing." And he says, "Oh, is that so?" And he goes hopping on his merry way. He gets down around Tennessee, and he sees a raccoon, and he says, "Hey, Mama Raccoon, what the baby raccoons eat?" And the mother raccoon says, "Well, baby raccoons like to eat leaves, and we grab little fishes out of the water, those kind of things, and berries." And he says, "Oh, is that so?" So he goes hopping on the way, and he gets down around Florida and sees an alligator. He says, "Hey, Mama Alligator, what do baby alligators eat?" And the mama alligator says, "Well, I think they like to eat big mouth frogs." And the big mouth frog says, "Ew, is that so?" We thank you for joining us tonight, and that concludes the Team Houndstooth video.